Hello there, friends, and Happy New Year! This is something a little different. I wanted to just go ahead and talk to you guys directly, because not only is this the start of 2025, which I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's also been 2 years to the day since I started releasing videos on this channel, which is also really, really crazy to think about. I have, honestly, thinking back on it, I have done a lot more than I originally thought I had. I've made over 200 videos, I think nearly 300 at this point, that have been publicly released, and it's been a wild ride. And I wanted to go ahead and reminisce on the past year and also talk about some behind-the-scenes things about what's going on with Bravely Default 2, and also kind of just look towards what else is to come this year. I don't have much else other than a few bullet points, so this is going to be really off the cuff, so we'll see how well this goes. So looking back at 2024, what did we start with? We started with a little bit of the wrap-up of Bravely Default's job videos, which, oh man, was that a project. I've kind of already gone into detail about what I think about that, so I won't dawdle on that too much. So what was the real first project? Final Fantasy VI, yes. Oh boy. So I started working on that. That was the first project of the year, which was really nice. And that took a little longer to prepare than I was expecting. About 4 months, give or take? Which, I wasn't expecting it to take that long. That's a game that I knew fairly well and had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do, but things just kept piling up, and I was working on that, the Final Fantasy XIV project, and also wrapping up Bravely Default at the same time, while also just doing real-life things. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense why that took a little longer. Final Fantasy VI was also the first time I really got to use After Effects. That was something that I was teaching myself at that time, and I kind of got to mess around with it, with those character bios. Now, I will say, they weren't the prettiest bios by any means. Looking back on them right now, there's definitely some improvements I could have made to the organization and the way the text look and whatnot. But honestly, overall, I was pretty satisfied with the little test run that I had with it. And it looked pretty, and it kind of added something unique to the experience, in my opinion. It was a good learning experience, I would say. It was really nice going back and revisiting that game for its 30th year anniversary, which is insane to think about. Even if the project itself did not pan out exactly as I'd hoped. And I've talked about this before. I had big plans and hopes for Final Fantasy VI, and due to a mix of things, lack of motivation, some projects just not working out, and emulators being annoying, I wasn't able to get exactly what I wanted for that series, and but regardless of that, it was still really fun. I liked sharing my experiences with you guys. It was really cool to be able to try out a new editing style. I was messing around with my mic a lot during that time. Audio mixing is definitely not my forte, and so that was definitely an experience. I learned a lot of things about the game that I hadn't either, and that surprised me as well. I'm definitely interested in diving into other mainline Final Fantasy projects. However, I don't know if it'll be in the same format, so I'll probably change the way that I approach it if I do that in the future. Now, what was next? Would have been the restricted run. Yeah, with the name. So that was a very different style of video than I'd ever made previously, which did make it both really fun and also very, very challenging. So that project went through 3 different variations before I settled down on what I had. And funnily enough, I actually do have enough footage to make 2 or 3 more videos in the series. But just due to a lack of motivation, because the game was getting DDoSed constantly while I was recording, and it just really didn't make for a fun experience. And also just the frustration with some of the rules I put on myself, which is definitely mostly my fault. Well, not mostly, it is entirely my fault, it's my challenge. It kind of sucked the fun out of the project, I will admit. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to try something like this again. I absolutely do. I would move things around, of course, probably remove the whole permadeath thing, and just focus a little bit more on just creating stupid challenges and wacky ideas, rather than the, oh, you only have one life. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I have plenty of ideas. It was a really fun process to record, but shifting the rules around, I think, will make it even more fun for me to make, but also even more fun for you guys to watch. The reception of that video was pretty positive, and I am definitely down to try something like that again. Next was Thousand Year Door. Now, this was actually sort of an improv project, because that was announced the previous September, I think? So that was, and I planned these things months in advance because they take a lot of work to do, and, you know, there's only so many hours in the day. So this was something that I quickly shifted stuff around to, you know, work with it. And the thing is that I had so much fun playing this gem again. This is one of my favorite games of all time. I loved sharing my experiences and some of my fond memories with everyone. But I've already admitted this many times before, but I'm not afraid to admit it again. That was a mess of a series. I came into this project with like a very set plan on what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, and when I wanted to do it. But as soon as I started recording, I started thinking of different ideas and different ways I wanted to do stuff, and I began second-guessing myself pretty much immediately. And that just caused kind of a cascading effect where I wanted to do too much and ended up doing not much at all. And you can kind of see it in the first episode compared to the other ones, where there's a little bit more of an organized format with that first episode, a little bit more post-commentary and whatnot, kind of creating this story, and the later episodes really don't do that as much. There were lots of things I had planned for that mini-series style, and it just didn't work out because I had too many competing ideas in my head. And not only that, but also just I was really slacking on those videos, because at the time I was also preparing Bravely Default 2, and there were many, many days where I was just like, I'd rather work on Bravely Default 2 than work on my Paper Mario stuff, even though that's what's coming out right now, and it all kind of cascaded. But regardless of that, it was really, really fun, and it was a good learning experience. I learned quite a bit about how to pace long-form videos like that, whether it was good or bad. And I'm definitely down and do really want to try my hand at making another one of those mini-series playlists that I, you know, hyped up with this series sometime in the future. It's definitely something I want to work on again. And if I get the chance to, maybe I'll revisit Thousand Year Door and give it the justice it deserves. Because, yeah, this was the best of a series, even if it's something that I do come back to and enjoy watching every now and then. And then that takes us to Bravely Default 2, to the present. Now, this project had the most amount of prep work out of any of my other projects in the past 2 years, lasting roughly 9 months before I actually started releasing videos. Bravely Default 2, the reason for that is because this is the game of the franchise that I knew the least about by a wide margin, so I had to catch myself up pretty fast. And also, I had to do a lot of research on my own, because even though there is an amazing community that does their best to document as many things as possible, even they are still finding stuff to this day. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. Even they're still finding stuff to this day about this game. And so I had to do a lot of my own personal research, because there are still things that we don't know about it. And I had to see if I could contribute anything in a way. And so, yeah, it took a while. The changes that I made to the format for the playthrough and the job videos really helped with Burnout this time around compared to Bravely Default 1, because that was a big issue I had. The way that I was making those videos and releasing them just drove me insane. I liked making them, don't get me wrong. It was a dream come true, but it was a really, really, really monotonous and annoying process near the back end of it. And the way that I've paced things and compiled things and changed things around for both the playthrough and the job videos, as I mentioned, have really helped with that. And despite this being probably the best playthrough I have made, which, I mean, there's not much competition, but regardless of that, this will probably be the last project for a while where I pace things this way. It takes up way too much of my time that I could use elsewhere. The job videos are fine, and they are absolutely the star of the show, and I'm so glad that everyone loves them, even if, I do get things wrong every now and then, or I say something wrong, and thankfully you guys are there to correct me and get the right information out to everyone. That is something that I genuinely really treasure. Bringing the community together, talking about these things, trying to, improve the game, improve the community in some way that I can. And it is genuinely just so much fun to do. But this will probably be something that I take a break from again and come back to at a later point, probably in a different format. There's still a little bit more to go with this project. Again, I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. Videos have been on hiatus for a little bit, but in the background, the entire playthrough has been recorded and edited, and have dates set for them. Those will be resuming here pretty soon. And in terms of job videos, I've made a very, very large backlog, and I'll be starting to release them at quick pace during the month of January, which will be very, very exciting. I'm hoping to get them all out by the end of January. We will see, but that is currently the idea. If it moves into a little bit of February, that's fine, but currently the idea is to get them all in January, but we'll see how that goes. So, because of that, I think I'll leave my final thoughts for Bravely Default 2 as a whole, or whenever that project is definitively closed up and wrapped up, so we'll move on from here. So, what about what's coming this year? It's a full year of 365 days. What am I gonna do? Well, honestly, I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't really know myself. I do have plans for some Final Fantasy XIV content. That is something that I plan to do, and if everything goes well, should hopefully be out fairly soon. We'll see. Bravely Default 2 stuff comes first, obviously. I am also fiddling around with the idea of making some Octopath Traveler 2 content. Again, don't have much of a concrete idea, but it is something that I have in my back pocket. I've also looked at making stuff for a few indie projects that I've been seeing that I've been really, really interested in. And, of course, I'm still looking at Bravely Second. I don't know when I will do Bravely Second. I will definitely be taking a break after Default 2, so it'll be a while. But that is still something on my radar. I don't know when it'll happen, but hopefully it'll happen relatively soon. We'll see. We'll see. Whenever I tackle Bravely games again, it'll probably be in a slightly different format. And also, kind of just thinking about it, Team Asano does have a Bravely announcement for us this year, so maybe we'll see something exciting there, and I'll shift my plans around that. There's also Xenoblade Chronicles X coming out, and I'm a big Xenoblade fan, so I might make stuff about that. There's a lot of new games coming out this year. There's a new Pokemon that's coming out, hopefully, this year. There's the new Metroid. There's, well, while I probably won't make videos over it, there's, a new GTA. So there's a lot of things that I'm looking at, but definitively, I've got a few Final Fantasy XIV plans. And another thing that I'm going to be looking to do is streaming. I have been working on something a little bit in the background, again, regarding Final Fantasy XIV, and I think it would be best for me to share it with you guys live, because I think that would be the most fun way to experience it. Especially because I hope to make it interactive, where you guys can have a say in things. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Again, the concrete plans for a lot of things haven't been made out. Got lots of other things I gotta do. And we gotta wrap up Bravely Default 2. So that's how we're gonna start this year. And hopefully, we can make it a good one. So, with all that said, thank you all so much for your support over these past, 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, however long you've been watching me. It's been a treat, and let's make 2025 a year to remember.